Intrepid radio program with Scotty Roberts. Intelligent talk.
Hey folks, welcome to the program. Happy Friday evening. And I hope you are having a wonderful day. Welcome to everybody who's over in the chat room. Welcome to everybody who's over on the radio station over at Subspace Radio Network at subspace.radio. Welcome to the program. If you're listening there, it's an audio only. You can join the chat room and come to the video simulcast of this program over on my YouTube channel, and that's youtube.com/Scotty Roberts. And while you're there, hit the subscribe button, hit the little bell so you get notifications of this show when it airs. And you can also, what else you can do? Oh, you can hit the join button and show you how you can financially help support this show. Anywhere from $1 a month to $5 a month to $15 a month. You go take a look, see what you like over there. And I want to thank you all for being here. Thanks for showing up. I appreciate it. We just had my youngest daughter, Ellery's birthday party this evening. And we had, she just turned 8 years old today. And we had a little mini Thanksgiving along with it. So it was kind of nice to have some relatives over. My son Sam was over with his girlfriend. And my mother-in-law came over, Grandma. And everybody else was here. We had a good time. We had a couple of friends over as well. So that was fun. And it was late in the day. You usually do Thanksgiving, a little earlier in the day. Well, maybe not. This was our little mini celebration for Thanksgiving. And the kids were still in school today, of course. And so when they got home around 3:30, we commenced. And we roasted a turkey. It was fantastic. And and all the stuffing and all that, I had to do stuffing, gluten-free stuffing. I have to get gluten-free stuff for Rainy. So the turkey's gluten-free, of course. And I did stuffing. I have Dad's special stuffing. I always get the stuffing. You get stuffing mix or breadcrumbs if you want to go scratch all the way. And I brown up some sage sausage, and I mix it in it onions, green onions, mushrooms, and then apple slices. And I mix that all in with special seasoning and spices. And we stuffed the turkey with that. But it took us a while. We couldn't find the gluten-free stuffing anywhere. And so finally found that today, got that made up, and made mashed potatoes, did the whole peeling potatoes for a half an hour to boil them up and make mashed potatoes. So those were fantastic. I love real mashed potatoes. Even though they're starchy and sugary, they were still good. And Rainey did up the gravy from the, not jars, but the juice from the turkey, and used that to make a gravy. It was fantastic. So we had a good time. And birthday cake, of course, and all of that stuff. So welcome to everybody who's over in the chat room. I can see you, that you're here. Everybody on the radio, welcome. Steve Clark, Paige Rockwell Soiree is here in the chat room. Barbie D is here. And Matt Finn, Master Finn is here. He says, I feel like I've entered a time warp. Thanksgiving is over, and we've moved on to Christmas. Well, this was kind of our little mini Thanks Christmas, which we have to do every year because everybody in the family, the extended family, they all go other places. They all have other relatives and in-laws and things like that. So we always try to find a day that we can make. Last year we had John and Brianna over, and we couldn't get them this year. They already had some commitments for tonight. And so they couldn't make it this year. But we've done that with them a couple of times. And it's just kind of a middle where we can get together with friends and have our own turkey. And so it was fantastic. Beth Kirkham, good to see you. Barbie D, good to see you. Kendall Blanchard, good to see you. Yeah, I didn't have too much. I just had a helping, which was nice. not a mounded helping, just a helping. Potatoes, turkey, because I knew I had to come on here. Otherwise, I'd be in a tryptophan, tryptoline, tryptolone, whatever it's called, coma by now, because we didn't eat till like 6:30. So that was only 2.5 hours ago, but I survived. Look at that. And everybody's up running around. And Sam had to go home. The weather was gorgeous today, around a 40 degrees, mild for up here after it's been very cold. And then it started kind of sleeting outside in the evening. And they're predicting 8 degrees for tomorrow's high. So everything's going to freeze. Excuse me. There's the turkey speaking to you, gobble, gobble. So it's, hey, Sarah Yusuf. Yeah, so it's going to be frozen. So they had to leave. Otherwise, I wanted Sam to be here on the show with me tonight, sitting right here next to me. But they really needed to go and beat the weather out. They had a half-hour drive. So anyway, there it is. So tonight, Friday, is Ghost Day, as we all know so well, or coming to know so well. And I've got a few things lined up in here for Ghost Day. It's funny, I was watching in the last couple of hours videos. And I don't normally do that. I'm not a kid. I don't need to sit and scroll through TikTok or YouTube and watch videos. But I was over on Instagram, checking out Instagram, and saw a video that I liked. It was the trailer for the new Indiana Jones film. Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, it's called. And it looks absolutely awesome. And so I was watching that, but I started scrolling through videos after that. And saw some neat things. Some of them very moving, some of them kind of dumb. The amount of videos that people put out there is unbelievable. You get everything from paranormal to science to politics to relationships to women tugging on their T-shirts and having it turn into skimpy underwear in front of your eyes. To you name it, it's out there. And so I'm scrolling through all of this. And there were a few things that stood out to me. Nothing I can repeat because I can't really remember it, but some very good. I saw something from Christopher Walken talking about life. He says, "You're born alone, you die alone," is how he starts it. And he goes on, and it's really profound. It's good stuff. And so I had a good time with that, but I wasn't going to capture any of that or write it down and repeat it here. Just that there were some good things. So yeah, you can find whatever you want, Beth Kirkham. Ain't that nice? Or ain't that right? Certainly can. And Chuck Thurston's here. Ghosts, he says, my favorite subject. Well, I'm not going to give you some sort of in-depth paranormal expose this evening. I've just got a list of haunted places that I wanted to go through. A list that's longer than we can fit into this show. I've got a list of 40 different items or different locations. And I wanted to try to stay on that theme, but maybe lighten it up a little bit that we've been doing the last couple of weeks. We did the ghosts of the Holocaust, or the ghosts of the Warsaw Ghetto. Very heavy, very heart-wrenching. We did last week the ghosts of the greasy grass, which is the Native American term for the Little Bighorn, the Custer Last Stand, Custer Hill, the Custer Battlefield, all of that. All named after him, but he's the guy that lost, interestingly enough. And so I thought I'd try to stick with that theme, but I started looking for historical locations. You could go to Gettysburg. You could go to several different places around the world that have monumental, historical, palpable historical reference, and find that there's paranormal activity there. And so I thought, let's give that a try tonight. Let's just see what we've got here. And so I've got this list of the most haunted places in America, but with an historical twist. and I found this to be really very interesting. And America is just chock full of ghosts, ghost towns, um, abandoned buildings, haunted forests, shadowy figures, laughter, footsteps. These have all been reported in all of these places as paranormal activity. You look at Philadelphia's Eastern State Penitentiary. I don't know if you can hear that. There's still people here. Grandma brought a little dog along, so that dog's been yipping all day long, might I add. So it's nice to be down here in the quiet. But it's one of those dogs that's about this big and weighs a whole pound full grown. And all that's to go yip, 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 yip. I looked at him at one point. I went, rah, 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 and he jumped. So there you go. So what was the line from City Slickers? From remember Jack Palance, the late Jack Palance? He looks at Billy Crystal and says, "I poop bigger than you." That's the way I felt about that dog today. Of course, it ain't hard to poop bigger than a 1 pound yippy dog. Anyway, moving on. The Winchester Mystery Mansion. Oh, by the way, Eastern State, have you ever been there? I've been there a couple of times. It's quite the interesting location. I stood at Eastern State Penitentiary, which we're going to talk about a little later here. But Eastern State Penitentiary, it's got like the prison was laid out as a hub, like a wheel. You look at it from the above. There's the main hub, and then all the corridors or the cell blocks that go off like the spokes of a wheel. And yeah, ankle biter. Yeah, that's about it. So Chuck Thurston asked. And we were standing, Britt Griffith and I. You remember Britt Griffith from Ghost Hunters? And this had to be in 2009, 2010, somewhere in there. We're standing in this hub, and we've got some people with us in this group. And you look down this black corridor. And you know how when it's really dark outside or inside, if you open your eyes, if it's not pitch black, your eyes will eventually adjust to that darkness and you'll start to see things. And I've done it in the woods. I've done it inside. Now, if it's pitch black, there's no adjusting going on. Your eyes won't adjust it. But we were in this cell block standing at the hub, and we looked down the cell block where it was all the oldest cells in the penitentiary. And we could see all the cells were down the doors across from each other. And then there was an outside door at the far end, which I don't think that outside door, that either wasn't there when they first built it and it's now an exit there, or it was something that was always locked and sealed down at the end. But on the cell block, we started seeing, and Britt standing next to me says, "Look right down there. Just watch." And out of all these doors, we started seeing black figures. A head would pop out. A head across the hall would pop out and pop back in. We could see this going down the hall sporadically, periodically. And so we could see these ghosts appearing. Ghost shadow figures, trick of the eye maybe, because it's dark, but our eyes were adjusted well enough that that door at the far end was open to the outside, and it was nighttime. It was 8:30, 9 o'clock at night. When it was darkest season, I don't know what season we were there, but it was dark outside. And you could you had a little ambient light from the yard coming in, and so you could see something, but you'd see these black figures moving in and out. Arlene lives in Pennsylvania. Have you ever been there, Arlene? And so it was a very interesting night. Another place in the United States, the Winchester Mystery House in California. It was essentially built to be haunted, and it once had 200 rooms, 10,000 windows. 10,000 windows. Could you imagine being the window washer? You would never get done. 2,000 trap doors, regular doors, spy holes. There's also the Lizzie Borden house, which I think has been overdone in recent years, but I would say probably one of the very best exposés I've ever seen done on the Lizzie Borden house was when Dave Schrader went to the Lizzie Borden house with, I want to say he had, did he have Chris Fleming with him? I might be wrong about that. I might be remembering wrong. It might have been Cindy, but I'm not sure. And they did the Lizzie Borden house, and there were some very interesting things that they got there. There was also Amy Bruni, who you've seen her. She was, of course, formerly with Ghost Hunters. She was the redhead, for if you need a quick reference. And she started her own show with Adam Berry. What's that one called? Not relatives. It's something about. It'll come to me. Why it's skipping on the name. But Amy Bruni and Adam Berry, somebody can post that in the chat room, if you will. I don't know why I'm skipping on that name, but they also did the Lizzie Borden house. But then they went to also the house where Lizzie Borden lived for the balance of her life after the trials, after the acquittal and all of that. And it's bugging me that I can't remember the name of that show. And I've said it a million times. Sorry, Amy, if you hear this. Amy's a friend. Is it a senior moment or a tryptophan moment? What the heck is the name of that show? Somebody look that up. I could look it up. I'm going to look at it and go, yeah, that. Amy Bruni, Adam Berry. Boom. Their show is. They were both on Ghost Hunters. That's not the one I want. Kindred Spirits. That's it. There. Thank you, Sarah Yusuf. We got it at the same moment. Kindred Spirits is the name of the show. See, I'm thinking relative, and it was Kindred. So Kindred Spirits, and they got some very interesting stuff at Lizzie Borden's house. Not the Borden house, the greenhouse you always see on the corner there, but it was her big house that she moved into afterwards. And they got some very interesting EVPs, very complete sorts of communication in a woman's voice that was insisting from the other side that she was innocent of that she did not have anything to do with it. And so it's very interesting. Now, here's a question for you. Maybe a spiritual question, if you will. If somebody, let's say this is a hypothetical, and I'm not talking about Lizzie Borden, but let's say somebody murdered somebody in this life, and they insisted to cover their tracks. They lied about doing it. Acquitted, not found guilty, whatever. They die. They go to the afterlife. If you could communicate with them, do you suppose that you take with you the guilt of what you did? Would you lie in the afterlife? Is it just because somebody's in the afterlife, would they tell the truth if you catch them on a recording of some kind? So I think that's very interesting. That's a question that went through my mind. And Amy also does her, if you look it up, she's got a podcast called Haunted Roads. And that's really fun and interesting to listen to. You can find it. I think they're on Apple Podcasts and all kinds of other platforms. And she talked about this experience on that platform as well. So, but there's a haunted spot that you can find in every state in the United States. Not just a house, locations, places, things that people experience, and so on. But the big thing I wanted to look for, what's the most haunted places in America? And I've got a list of 40, which by now we're not going to get through 40 of these. But they range from lighthouses to former prisons. They're in parks. They're in mansions, all these different kinds of places. And so I'm going to start with the first one, Eastern State Penitentiary, which I already mentioned. With Britt Griffith and I were there with the Ghost Hunters. And during its heyday, Eastern State Penitentiary in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, if you didn't know that, was one of the most expensive and well-known prisons in the entire world. It was built in 1829, which is almost 200 years ago now. And it was the prison housed big-name criminals over its years like Al Capone, and bank robber Slick Willie. Yeah, that was a real guy, not just a nickname for Bill Clinton. And Al Capone, you can go see his cell is still set up there. I don't know what they did to keep it in the shape that it's in, unless it's just things that have been brought in to replicate what he would have had. But he had a big cell and he had furniture in there. It wasn't just a bench and a toilet. He had furniture and radios and all kinds of stuff like that, pictures on the walls and so on. It looked pretty interesting. Tapestries or, Persian rugs and things like that. So up until the overcrowding became a problem in 1913, prisoners were kept in complete solitude at all times. And even when prisoners left their cells, a guard would cover their head so they couldn't see and no one could see them. It was a philosophy of imprisonment back then. And that's what they did. Now, today, the decaying penitentiary offers ghost tours and a museum, shadowy figures, laughter, footsteps, slamming cell doors. These have all been reported as paranormal activity within the prison walls. And of course, the little story I gave you that took place with Britt and I. And I know we got some EVPs and things in there, but the most impressive thing about our visit there was seeing the heads, the shadow figures peeking out of the cell doors. And of course, you're not really scared. Would you walk down there afterwards? Yeah, we did. We walked down there and we looked in the old cells, and they were, there wasn't much to them back then. And back in the day, those original old cells. Chuck Thurston says Alcatraz, building 64, third floor, west side. LOL, very haunted. Now, I've not been to Alcatraz. I had old friends of mine. Damn. And you hate talking about this. I'm not name dropping, but I've mentioned that Mark and Debbie Constantino were good friends of mine. Now, many of you know who they were. They were on the Ghost Adventures show and a couple of other shows. They were EVP specialists, and they would come to all these events. And sadly, about 5-6 years ago, Mark murdered Debbie and killed himself. Very sad, tragic situation. But Debbie called me up and wanted me to go to Alcatraz with him. So I almost made it. And she said, look, if you want to come along, we'll bring you along. It won't cost you anything. And I said, I'd love to do that. And I just could not make it work for my schedule and the timing at the time. So I almost had a opportunity to go to Alcatraz, but missed it. So moving on from that. Built in the late 1700s is the King's Tavern. It's one of the oldest buildings in the state of Mississippi. And it was built in the late 1700s in Natchez. The King's Tavern is one of the oldest buildings in the state. And the restaurant and bar have a rich and somewhat disturbing history. And there was a man named Richard King who bought the buildings years after it was constructed. And the story goes that he hired a young girl named Madeline to be a waitress and then had an affair with her. You all know where this is going. When King's wife found out, she had the girl killed. And it's said that Madeline's spirit now haunts the tavern. Then in the 1930s, 3 mummified bodies were found in the tavern's chimney. Mummified. Now, I don't know if these mummified bodies had been mummified by somebody or were mummified by being smoked in the chimney for centuries. Some say that these are the bodies of those murdered by the Harp brothers, Harpe, who are often referred to as America's first serial killers. The Harp brothers were known customers at the restaurant. Could you imagine having you and your sibling? Hey, like, hey, bro, how you doing? Let's go kill some people. And they kept doing it. That's kind of weird. Do we ever know of anybody else, any other siblings that were serial killers like that? Kind of strange. But today, visitors to the restaurant report heat coming from the fireplace, even when it's not lit, shadowy figures and doors shutting inexplicably, and noises that sound like a crying baby. This is all at, if you go down to Natchez, Mississippi, the King's Tavern. Go look up some pictures of that. It's pretty cool. The Winchester Mystery House is the next one. That's in San Jose, California. And it was built by the widow, of course, of the famous gun manufacturer. And Sarah Winchester. And we've heard a lot about the Winchester House. We've seen a lot of the ghost shows. I think it's obligatory that all those ghost shows have to go to the Winchester House. And it's an interesting structure. Sarah Winchester commissioned the building of her mystery house in 1886 after her husband, gun magnate William Wirt Winchester, died of tuberculosis, and her infant daughter died shortly after. And by the way, no connection to Sam and Dean Winchester. But, and it's interesting they chose that name for those fictional characters, by the way. She was told by a medium that she would be forever haunted by the ghosts of those killed with the Winchester rifles. And so many believe that Sarah Winchester built the home in the 1800s to confuse and trap evil spirits that haunted her. Historian Jenan Bomi told Insider magazine that the 38-year renovation was in Winchester's passion project. And Sarah used the money she inherited from her husband's death to employ 16 carpenters who worked 24 hours a day on shifts until her death in 1922, resulting in a bizarre house that at its peak had a total of 200 rooms, 10,000 windows, 2,000 trap doors, regular doors, and spy holes. It also has staircases leading to ceilings, windows leading to secret passageways, and doors opening into walls. It's quite the strange place, but is considered to be one of the most haunted places in the United States. Sarah Winchester House. I have never been there, but I want to go there. Just like to see it. So that was the third one. We've only got 37 left to do. You think we'll make it by the end of the show? Probably not. Michelle Cannon-Free says lore. Yep. Barbie D says she's been gone 100 years, or has she? Sean Strike says, I tried that for a while. Beth Kirkham, I think they made much more money than me. Chuck Thurston said, I had a private tour of the place in off-tour locations. Crazy place, says Chuck. And the basement, oh yeah, haunted. 2 carpenters. Now, I've heard that one before, too, and seen some pictures even. So, Matthew Sainsbury says, the Lakota, the Cheyenne, the Blackfoot, all these groups, the Crow, the Comanche, all were affected seriously by the power of the gun and the Winchester, although the Lakotas became great marksmen themselves. Yeah, there it was, the Lakota's revenge. So, moving on, we've got the Lizzie Borden Bed and Breakfast in Fall River, Massachusetts. And it was the site of the grisly murder. Lizzie Borden took an axe and gave her father 40 whacks. And when she saw what she had done, she gave her mother 41, or the other way around, mother or father. And, of course, she was acquitted of that crime. They could not prove that she was guilty of it. And it's now a museum. It's a bed and breakfast. Would you stay there if you had an opportunity to spend the night at the Lizzie Borden house? Would you stay there? I would. The Lizzie Borden house was the scene of the gruesome murders of Andrew and Abby Borden, who were found in 1892, covered in blood and beaten to death with an axe. Lizzie, the Borden's daughter, was the prime suspect in the case. And the charges against Lizzie were later dropped due to lack of physical evidence, and no one else was ever charged with the murders. The case remains unsolved. And today, guests can stay in the room where Abby was killed at the bed and breakfast. I'd heard some versions that talk about the maid. The maid and a relative of the maid or a lover of the maid may have been implicated in this, but never brought to trial. So, according to employees and visitors, the home is full of paranormal activity, such as an apparition in Victorian clothing and sounds of weeping, doors opening and closing, footsteps and conversations in empty rooms. I think it was Christopher Moon, a friend of mine. I used to do work with him. He is a psychic medium. He is big with the ghost box, or the Frank's box, the ghost box. If you remember the story I told of where April Slaughter called me and said, my box just told me to have you call Chris Moon and talk to his box. And we all got a good laugh out of that. But anyway, Chris Moon got some pictures in the basement down there of some kind of activity. It was I don't remember exactly what they were doing, but it appeared as green light. And when they looked at the picture again, it looked exactly like the face of Andrew Borden. So very interesting. Steve Clark says, it sounds like my house sometimes. There you go. Lizzie's lesbian lover did it. She was the maid. Ah, there you go, Chuck. That's interesting. She never did marry. She never did I never heard the lesbian twist on that before. That's very interesting. There's also, moving on, the Rio Grande, or Grande, however you want to pronounce it. A woman in a purple dress is said to haunt the women's bathroom of the Denver and Rio Grande, it's got an E at the end, so I want to say Grande, railroad depot in Salt Lake City, Utah. There's another place when I was working in Utah, about 30 miles from Salt Lake City, that I did not see. It's now the home to the Utah State Historical Society. The Denver and Rio Grande Railroad Depot was built by George Gould for the Rio Grand Western Railroad, and it was a travel hub in the early 1900s. A woman in a purple dress haunts the woman's bathroom of the Rio Grande Cafe. And according to Haunted Houses, which is a book, could be a magazine. I'm not even seeing which it is here. This woman was hit by a train after her fiancé threw her engagement ring onto the tracks during a fight. Guys are dicks sometimes. I don't know. Maybe she was sleeping around. Who the hell knows what the story was? I don't. But she was smacked by the train. And the ghost of George Gould is also said to make the occasional appearance on the balcony and in the lobby. Barbie D.S. Lizzie was gay? I don't know. I've never heard that before. Chuck just mentioned that. I'm not sure what you're saying there, Chuck. Apostrophe? Hey. So it seems Siri? Anyway, thank you, Paige. I'm not quite sure where you were going with that one either. She never had a boyfriend. She never got married. There is that. Maybe there weren't many guys that wanted to marry her. Guys, would you marry an axe murderer? Somebody that everybody in the world around you suspected to be an axe murderer? It could be that one day, you have a bad argument and you go to sleep on the sofa and you wake up with an axe and you're splitting your forehead. I don't know. Guys, if she was hot, would you marry her? Reminds me of the movie, Mike Myers movie. So I Married an Ex-Murderer. Great movie. It's a movie where he plays his own Scottish father in that movie. Comedy, of course. And so she inherited a lot, said Sarah Yusuf. Yeah, she wasn't going to inherit anything if she was found guilty, of course. But they cleared her. And you think there were payoffs in there? Do you think she actually did it? Do you think she's innocent? That's an interesting story. Chuck Thurston, yes, guys as blank a lot of the times. LOL. Oh, that's right. Next one is the St. Augustine Lighthouse. That's Florida's first lighthouse, and it's the city's oldest surviving brick structure, and it's said to be haunted. Now, we've seen several things on this. Ghost Hunters did some things on the St. Augustine Lighthouse. I think Kindred Spirits with Amy and Adam did something on that as well. The tower's lens is the original lens that was installed during the 1870s when it was built. And besides being known for its rich history, the lighthouse is also known for the ghosts that haunt it. It's believed that multiple tragic events that occurred in or near the lighthouse are the cause for the site's paranormal activity. And there's a story of the lighthouse keeper who fell and died while painting the tower, and the story of 3 children who were playing in a cart near the tower, which broke and fell into the ocean, causing them to drown. Visitors claim that they've seen the keeper's ghost watching the grounds, and they've heard the sounds of the children playing nearby. Now, I know when Ghost Hunters went there many years ago, some of the earliest episodes of the Ghost Hunters series back in 2003, 2004, I think it was one of those seasons, they went to the St. Augustine Lighthouse. And as they're going up the stairway, the circular iron stairway, they kept hearing sounds from upstairs. And then they saw a ghostly figure lean out, and they've got the camera pointing up there, and leaned out over the rail, a black shadow figure, and then went back in. And they saw it move. And then when they got up there, of course, there's nobody there. So it's interesting. So moving on, known as one of America's most haunted homes. You know what this one is, folks, just by saying that? The Myrtles Plantation in St. Francisville, Louisiana. It started as a working mansion during the late 18th and 19th centuries. It had slave quarters and so on. It's a plantation. It's an extravagant example of the grandeur that characterized plantations during that time period. It's got the French chandeliers and the mansion's foyer. It's baccarat crystal and weighs over 300 pounds, just the chandelier alone. Today, the home is a bed and breakfast. And rumor has it that the house was built on top of a former burial ground. And throughout the years, there have been numerous ghost sightings, the most well-known being, of course, Chloe, a former slave at the plantation. And there are photographs of her, a very famous photograph, way out where she's on the veranda. Somebody's taking a picture of the whole house, and there she is standing on the veranda. And you can't quite tell. Are my eyes playing tricks on me? Pareidolia? And just very recently, somebody caught a new picture of this Chloe. And it's a little clearer. It's a little closer up. And I thought it was a very interesting picture. You can go look that one up as well. I could have done a bunch of photos tonight, but I didn't. I have to save them a certain way and import them all. So I didn't do that for tonight's show. But you can go look up the new picture of Chloe at the Myrtles Plantation. Now, the legends that surround Chloe vary, but most say she poisoned the plantation's owners' two children's. How's that? She poisoned the plantation owner's 2 children and was then hanged by her fellow slaves. Chloe is said to have appeared as an apparition in a photograph that's taken by the plantation's proprietors in 1992, and then again, I think just this last year. So very interesting stuff. Michelle Cannon-Free, Pareidolia, yes. Snow frogs, yeah. Now, Michelle, by a couple of comments you made, Are you a skeptic of seeing things with the eye of a? I wouldn't think that of you, but I'm curious because it sounds like a little skeptical approach to that. Pareidolia, yes. Snow frogs, maybe. So I'm just curious what your take is. I think many times we our presupposition that it is either real or not real governs the way we see things and the way we would interpret things. So I've got a skeptical friend who this skeptical friend of mine, I've talked about him to you before, not by name so much, named Jim. I've known him for 30 years. We used to work together, and he's a skeptic. And he is very skeptical, and he's an atheist, and he's a liberal. Go figure. But he and I are still friends. But we disagree on a lot of things. But I take Jim along with me on a ghost investigation once? I don't think I did. I think we talked about it, and I played some EVPs for him. It was in the ranch house just before Rainey and I moved into it in 2008, I want to say, late 2008. And we did a little investigation with a team that we had worked with before up in the Twin Cities area. And we went out to the country in Wisconsin to the ranch, and the house was standing empty. And we did a ghost investigation there. And we got several EVPs there. One, I got a couple in the basement of that house that said, I was talking, we were down in the basement, and I said, if there's anybody here, the typical when you're taping for EVPs is anybody here who would like to talk to us, we would like to invite you to a conversation. And you hear, and I said, could you tell us who you are and why you're here? And you hear a man's voice, very gruff. A gruff version of Danny DeVito, if I could have seen his face, is what he appeared to be in my head. And he yells out, "Fuck you!" like that on the EVP. And immediately following was a woman's voice that said, "I already told them." So that's interesting. We picked that up in the basement. Now, I will take an EVP like that, and it was crystal clear. That was a Class A EVP. Now, later, once we moved in, we had gone up in the bedrooms and taped for a couple of more EVP sessions. We had Mike Brody with us. He's a comedian, and in the paranormal world, did a lot of shows with the Ghost Hunters and things like that. He did the Paradigm Symposium, my event, and he came and did comedy the Friday night for us. But he was out to the ranch house in 2008 and 2009. And so we went upstairs. We recorded for a few EVPs. He hadn't really done that before. And we picked up some things in the bedroom upstairs, my daughter's bedroom. And hey, in Kohler, yes, if that's how you pronounce it, we do allow people to come and call in, but not until we get to, I see a naked man on my screen. Hey, Ray Wombat, are you actually naked? Or just from the neck down? So, Ray, after the show is over, we have the captain's cabin. We'll be done here in about 10 minutes, and then we just lapse into the captain's cabin here on the YouTube channel, and we open up to callers. So either hang tight or call back after the top of the hour. And so we're up in my daughter's bedrooms, and we caught an EVP, and it wasn't very clear, but you could hear it. It was buried in the white noise. And you could distinctly hear it sounded like a little girl or a little boy. It was obscured a bit with the white noise. And we're asking the same typical questions. And it says, the voice said, "Get out right now." Just like that. Had that tone of voice to it and everything. Well, I played that one to my skeptical friend. And He said, I don't hear anything. I said, listen again, use the headset. You can hear it. It's clear as a bell. Nope, don't hear it. And so I think it's some people are programmed to not hear those things. They tune them out as opposed to attempting to tune them in. Hey, Apple Eater, nice rack, but I'm not going to bring you into the show. So nice try. So I think we got a lot of people wanting to come in. A lot of names I don't recognize. Can you have my phone number? I need to call you about Cyber Taz. No, thanks. Folks, see, when people call into the show, I see little miniatures of their screen. And so somebody out there called Apple Eater is showing me somebody's nice rack. So, and now Apple Eater, bare-chested man, is wagging his tongue and smiling. Good luck to you, buddy. I can't bring you in. So, yeah, to you too. Here we go. All right. I got to ban you. Sorry. There you go. All right. So, interesting stuff that happens in the background sometimes. I thought that was interesting to share with you. So, I am being trolled, Lucky Stone. Happens all the time. So, we've just learned to try to handle it differently. You're a regular Silver Fox. Thank you, Amy Staley. I don't know if that's honest or if that's trolling, but welcome to the program. I appreciate that. Me always likes a compliment. You know, the older we get, the more we like compliments, and I appreciate that. Zen Rhino says, do you think the Ghost Hunters people are legit or are they fake? I know the people from Ghost Adventures and the people from Paranormal State are fake. Well, I'll tell you this, Zen. I knew Jason and Grant personally from the Ghost Hunters. They had hired me to be the editor-in-chief of their magazine, Taps Paramag. And I did a lot of traveling with them and hung out with them. And I would say when you have questions of credibility or questions of, oh, did they fake that thing? You have to sometimes go back to the credibility of the individuals. I saw Grant Wilson as being an incredibly credible person, not a liar. I asked him point blank once. I said, Grant, did you guys do a little funny business with the tugging on the collar and stuff? And he says, no, man. He says, that was all real. We did not fake anything. Paranormal State. I don't know what happened to them. I think they just stopped filming after a while. I know that Ryan, the head guy, I had heard he had some issues and problems over the years, but I think if you look at Chad Kalick was a big help to him. They were friends. And I never knew Ryan personally, so I can't say anything negative about him. Just in the out in the winds out there, you hear that there might have been some problems of some kind, and it prevented him from going forward. But I've seen him in recent years coming back and doing some things, doing some interviews and things. But with the Ghost Hunters, I found them very credible because I knew the individuals. I knew them pretty well. As far as Zach Baggins and Ghost Adventures, people want to claim that they're phony baloney and full of bullshit and all of that. I don't know those guys personally, but I know people very close to them who know them. I knew a Byzantine priest, and I think I may have mentioned this on the show not long ago. Byzantine priest, Father Jack Ashcraft, was on the show a couple of times. They brought him in to do blessings. I don't think he did exorcisms at all, but he was a pretty solid priest and a very credible man himself. And he told me at the time that he did that show, a couple of the shows, he said his take on Zach Baggins was he was probably one of the most genuine people in TV doing this kind of thing. He said, Zach is a very serious dude. He said he might be a little tainted. He might be a little weird in his and Ashcraft's take. He said, but he's solid about what he's doing, and he takes no bullshit, and he runs a very tight ship. So that's what I've heard about him. Ghost Hunters, Beth Kirkham asked something about Ghost Hunters. Oh, you like Ghostbusters? Who you gonna call when there's something strange in your neighborhood? Who you gonna call? Ghostbusters. So, yeah, wrong. Yeah, ghost hunters, you meant. They went to discover and debunk. Always interesting. Always interesting. And I think there are some other really good shows that are out there. There's some on the internet. I've mentioned these guys before. Go look up Mind. What were they called? Mind, not Seekers. It's only on YouTube is where you find them. And they do a show. And they do some incredibly fucking creepy shit they get into on their show. And it's not a big production. It's a couple of guys doing it. And I want to say Mind Seekers. That's not right. It's Mind Seed. Mind Seed. Look up Mind Seed on YouTube and look at some of their programs. There's some creepy MFing shit. Creepy AF that they have seen. And there are times they say, look, we almost quit after this episode. They go running off and stuff like that. So there's some crazy, crazy stuff they've come in contact with. Zach is a showman, Chuck Thurston. You're absolutely right. That's what he was going to school for. That's why he started Ghost Adventures as a school project. And he wants to get into the showbiz. He's making movies and documentaries as well. He's got his museum. Yeah, he's a showman. But you can be a showman and still be very serious about the topic that you're doing. So I think he takes what he finds. I don't think he enhances it, but I do think he packages it all in a way that's entertaining and serious. So that's what I like about him. Love L. King. I'm not sure who that is. Elderberry or Michelle. Not sure who that is. So moving on, because we've only got a few minutes left. We've got 6 minutes left of this show. So let's hit a couple of more of these while we're at it here and see some of these other haunted locations. I think we've covered 4 or 5 out of the 14. Or I'm sorry, the 40 that I had up. So Ohio State Reformatory is another one. That's in Mansfield, Ohio. And it offers ghost hunting classes, a tour by a former prisoner. And there's a mix of beautiful architecture and crumbling prison cells. The Ohio State Reformatory saw plenty of violence during the 94 years the prison was in operation. The reformatory opened in 1896, hoping to be a place where juveniles were made into better people. And in 1990, the federal order that closed the prison cited brutalizing and inhumane conditions as one of the reasons the prison was closed, just in 1990. And one of the most violent incidents that occurred at the prison was the kidnapping and the killing of an employee's wife and daughter, which was carried out by 2 parolees in 1948. And just 2 years later, the warden's wife was shot dead by a gun that fell on the floor as she was picking up a jewelry case. Years later, the warden himself died of a heart attack in his office. And one inmate reportedly killed his cellmate and then stuffed his body under a bunk. Wow, I wonder how long that sat there before that was found. So tour guides and visitors alike say they can still hear the warden and his wife having conversations. That's what's creepy, is when you're there and you can hear looping conversations going on. So very interesting stuff. And I thought, was this the place? No, it was the castle. The place that has the word castle in it. I can't remember what it is. We'll find it down the list, I think. One I was thinking of. Then there's the LaLaurie Mansion in New Orleans, Louisiana's Field guy here. You know this place, Fieldy? It's said to be haunted by the ghosts of the owner's victims. The LaLaurie Mansion is named after its owner, Madame Delphine LaLaurie. After LaLaurie's third husband left her and returned to France, rumors started circulating that she went crazy and started torturing the slaves who lived and worked in her mansion. The first incident that raised concern occurred in 1833, when a female slave fell from a window and died. A year later, there was a fire at the mansion that caused police to come across the mutilated bodies of multiple slaves in the attic. It was like a little torture chamber she had up there. And it was believed that LaLaurie tortured her slaves in grotesque ways, drilling holes into their heads, breaking their bones, or removing their intestines. The public stormed the mansion after they heard about the story, but LaLaurie was never held responsible. Instead, she escaped to France, where she's thought to have died years later. But the ghosts of her victims are said to have remained in the mansion, and visitors claim they can still hear their screams. I saw one of the shows that I've mentioned, I'm not sure which one it was, did something on the LaLaurie mansion. Creepy as hell for a very cool looking place. Let's see. We got Bourbon Street entertains them, says Michelle Cannon. You mean the ghosts or somebody else? Nola houses many spirits. Yes. My friend, a very good friend, Alexandra Weiss, Weiss. She called into the show once. She's an author. Friend. She lives down in New Orleans. And she said she lives right in the heart of all that stuff that's going on there. And you know what? We ran over time again on the radio. We're already off air on the radio. 58 minutes. No, 55 minutes is what we are. Oh, it's 58. Okay. I just missed it. I have the two clocks that conflict with me. So Russ, the owner of the station, asked me about that the other day. And he said, you know, maybe we got to set some kind of thing. So maybe give you more time, he said, on air or something like that. So I was watching this very closely. At 47 minutes in, all I got to do is look at that and look for when it hits 55. 54, I've got a minute left. And the last I looked at it was at 47. I thought, oh, cool. We have 11 minutes left because I'm thinking 58 minutes after the hour. No, it's 55. It's a timer. 47 to 55. Well, what is that? It's 12 minutes. Not even. 47 to 55. That's 8 minutes. So I went over. So we went out with no fanfare from the radio station. I did warn you, said Sarah Yusuf. Maybe you did. You should be my producer, Sarah. You're hired. So Chuck Thurston talks about the Vasilla House on the list. We had an investigator there, haunted, a lot of EVPs. Yeah. A lot of crazy, weird stuff going on there too. So, anyway, so let's do this. Let's take a 30-second break, catch our wind, and we'll get out of here for the Intrepid radio program and come right back up with the Captain's Cabin. All right, folks. So for the radio audience who is now gone, let me just say, live long and prosper. Join us back here in a minute.
Join us every weeknight at 9 p.m. Central Standard Time, 10 p.m. Eastern. The Intrepid radio program, a Scotty Roberts Productions broadcast.
Well, hey, folks, welcome back to the captain's cabin. It's about time that we have a little casual talk going on. And I want to thank you all for being here. And Dave Potter's hiring Sarah to do something. I don't know. What is he paying you, Sarah? And let's see. No skepticism, Captain. Oh, I experience pareidolia often. Oh, yeah, I do too. I see pictures and everything. So I can look at that blotch on the wall there that's not painted. And I can see, right now I'm looking at that. It looks like a white coastline, like a lagoon with tall ships sailing in it. It's very cool. It's kind of neat. Maybe you'd see something different. So I'm going to take Matthew Sainsbury to Disneyland. Oh, Dave's going to take you to Disneyland. That's cool. What about Wendy's forearms? I don't think those forearms in that previous shot with Wendy are photoshopped. I think those... Oh, you think they're photoshopped, Dave Potter? You can think that all you want. So I can show you my forearms right now. How you doing? I think that beard's photoshopped.
Maybe it is.
Maybe it is. Maybe it isn't.
Maybe it's not really there.
Maybe it's not there at all. Yeah. So.
Ugh. So you're not going to bring the porn shop people in?
The porn shop? No, not yet.
Okay.
We'll wait.
I looked at the chat room and I'm like, I don't recognize that name or that name or that name.
I saw like 5 names I didn't recognize.
Yeah, I'm like, what's going on?
Yeah. So, and by the way, those are my forearms. I got forearms like Popeye.
I still think that picture looks photoshopped.
Oh, you think it does? Well, you're welcome to your opinion, dumbass. So,
I think I know you a little bit better than you do, Scotty.
Oh, you think you know me a little bit better than I do?
Yeah.
Oh, do you want to make an issue of it? You think I photoshopped that picture?
No. I'm sure Wendy actually sent in her picture.
Oh, you mean where we're together?
Yeah. And you got your arms behind your head?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'm sitting like that. So, and yeah. Oh,
they look a little enhanced.
Picture of Wendy and I together. Yeah.
You look a little enhanced in that picture.
Do I? In what way? I'm curious to know what you're thinking.
I don't know. There was skin tautness that I don't remember, and there was muscle form, and I don't know.
Well, let's see. Let's see. Why don't we just bring up the picture and we can examine it for Dave's sake here? Let's see. Let me find it. I don't know if I have it in a PDF, so I got to save it as a PDF.
No, it's right there on the side of you, right beside your head.
What?
On the banner, right by. I'm looking at the screen, right beside your head. It's there's a shot of it just underneath the
I don't see it.
hat or whatever.
I don't see it.
Just to the screen left of
where
you.
over here.
Yeah, over there.
Those are logos. I got 2 loons, tumblers,
and one of them
hats.
And one of them is you right under Penman with your arms behind your head. It's the same shot. Oh no,
that's Son of a Patriot.
You know what it is? It's my messenger chat head.
Oh,
you have that picture as your chat head, and it's lined up perfectly. It looks like it's one of your little logos. It's when
nice.
You texted me earlier. That's funny.
Nice.
I'm like, hell, why can't you see it? It's right there.
It's right there. I'm not seeing it, Dave. I really am not.
You know where those chat heads really screw me up? Every once in a while, I'll have a crowd picture up or something, and I'm like, oh, why is Scotty in the crowd? How did he get in
there? How did he get there?
It's like the chat head is perfectly scaled to the picture.
What's he doing there?
And I'm like, how did that happen?
Let's see. Oh, okay. Here is the picture. I'm going to save this. I got to save it as a PDF so I can import it. What the hell is that doing?
You're using it as your headshot for your messenger or something. So it should be easy to find.
Shouldn't be. Let's see. Hold on.
It's no big deal.
This all while we're sitting in here talking.
It's kind of like your post-op picture with you tearing over your shirt like
here. It's calling
like a Superman thing.
This is calling up some weird thing and not the graphic. Hold on. I'm going to try one more time.
It's not that big a deal, Scotty.
It's not. I just wanted to look at, I wanted you to point out what looks photoshopped to you. So let's see.
I'll do it next time I'm over.
Let's find it. No, we'll do it right fucking now.
Okay. We're good.
Oh,
Ladies
okay.
and gentlemen, right now we're going to fix this picture.
As long as you put it that way. Let's see. What have I got?
Hey, it's your show. You do the way you want to do it.
I'll do it the way I want to do it, and you'll take it and you'll like it. So said Humphrey Bogart to Peter Lorre. Where the heck is it? My graphics are not showing up the way they're supposed to in my... here it is.
So did Ellery have a good birthday?
She had a great birthday.
I felt really bad.
They're still going on upstairs, as a matter of fact.
Yeah, Mom's still in the hospital, and I had all that stuff to deal with. So,
I'm going to save this as a JPEG or as a what did I say? A PDF. Boom, and boom, and yes. Okay, now we'll import it. We'll take a look at what you're looking at. You might be talking about there's a very distinct shadow crease in my arm because of the lighting I had on that day. But let's see if that's what you're referring to. Let's see. Present. Present. Blah, blah, blah. My computer. Upload file. Let's go over into the right folder. Robertson. And it's right there. PDF. Oh, Flynn went to a dance tonight.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Do tell.
I think I just heard him yell, Mom. So he's home already. Well, it's 10 o'clock, of course.
Oh, yeah.
And Rennie was teasing him.
With a girl?
About, no. It's a 7th grade dance.
Oh, just stag then.
Yeah. So
guys all lined up on one side of the gym, girls all lined up on the other, and they sort of stare at each other for 2 hours while music plays.
What? I'm on radio. Either tell me what you need or go. What?
I'm getting my crush's Snapchat.
Oh, okay. What? See ya. Tell me about it later.
What?
Oh, go. I got a
Uncle
stick.
Dave wants to know. Inquiring minds want to know. Hey, Rowan.
How are you? Here we go. Oh, here. Let me take off the brand. Boom.
Dave wants to know, Dad.
There you go.
You can text me later, dear. Yeah. Well, okay. So you're right. It is. It's a shadow. Now, it's a shadow on both arms, but your forearms just
now
look
the
a little
color.
damp.
The only thing that's there, you are correct. It was Photoshop. The only thing Photoshop was the color. I bumped the color up because I was sitting in very bland lighting, so I enhanced the color. So make my nose look redder than it is. So there you go.
Make it look redder. Why would you do that?
I don't know. It made my nose look redder than it is.
I see what you're saying. So you toned it down. Yeah.
Yep. So there you go. It's just, it was sitting like this. There. See, look at my forearms. It's that shadow, and the lighting enhanced it. That's all.
All right.
There you go. All right. Have we settled that now? You got this Photoshop
the right arm looks bigger than the left,
silliness out of your vocabulary.
Yeah, that's fine. The right arm looks bigger than the left. I'd have toned that down a little bit.
Oh, yeah. Well, I just left it what it was because I don't enhance in Photoshop. So, I enhance, but for color and, this is an ad. This is like our banner. And so I did another one of those.
Scotty.
I drew us closer together in one for the square. If you go to the...
Does it really draw you closer together or do...
No. That wouldn't draw us closer together.
She doesn't care.
She doesn't care about what?
It wouldn't change how she feels about you. You don't have to have an enhanced.
No, I'm not worried about it. I'm not worried about it.
I'm not either.
Wendy, if you're out there, you can call in. It's only 9 o'clock, 9:15. So if you're out there listening, you can call in.
Oh, I got to hear your Tuesday night show last night on the way home from the Twin Cities.
Yeah.
Because on Tuesday is when Mom broke her leg, and so that day just disappeared for me. So I missed the show, felt real bad about it. And then I was driving home last night from Lodge, which was my last night sitting as the master. which was totally fine up until the very end. We had a tradition on the last night. Master calls everybody out on the level and kind of thanks everyone. And it was more emotional than I thought it was going to be, because I had all week long been going, yes, I am done with this.
Yeah.
And
is
then,
Wendy here?
then that
Somebody
moment
just
comes.
said hi to her.
Oh, is Wendy
she
there
in the chat room?
I do see a hi, Wendy. I haven't seen Wendy though.
Roger said hi, Wendy. Maybe he's just saying hi to Wendy vicariously through.
Oh, because we've been talking about her too.
Yeah, that's got to be it. He said hi to Barbara too, and Barbara's not here. She's in the chat room.
Barbara was here.
Well, Barbara is in the chat room. So,
Wendy, if you're in the chat room, post. I don't think you are.
They're probably out gallivanting. She and her buddies.
So, because she's leaving in a few days, isn't she?
Well, she's leaving in a few days, but she might end up staying there another week or two.
Yeah, she said that in the show.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I got to listen to it last night. That was an excellent show.
Why, thank you.
For those of you people who have not been tuning in to Roberts and Robinson, shame on you. It's some of the best talk show stuff I've heard in a long time on YouTube. It really should have a much bigger audience. Hello.
Hey, Wendy. Your mic is muted.
Be careful what you wish for, Scotty, because you just might get it.
There it is. And look what happened. I made a wish and
I
there
had.
you are.
I'm quickly trying to get a battery cable plugged in because my phone is telling me, it's like, hey, you're going to lose your connection in any second.
I was just watching the ridiculous comments about the photograph and the arm, and it's a bloody brilliant picture.
Why,
and people need to have better things to do with their time than comment on about it. It's like,
yeah,
really?
yeah, Dave.
Like, seriously,
everybody lighten up. Oh my God. Okay.
I think it was just an attempt to see how hot and bothered he could get me about it.
No. It's a great picture. We look fabulous, and I love it. I love it. And loads of people I know over here like it, and in the UK, they're like, that's such a cool picture. So, and they really like the one of us on the car.
Oh, on the car. Here, look, I've got that one. Folks, if you haven't seen this picture.
How are you, Wendy, darling?
I'm tired tonight. How are you?
Oh. Well, I'm still recovering from my back, so
yeah.
I was miserable last night because I had been all day on my feet, buying groceries, cooking a big, huge dinner, and all that. And I didn't think I had to say, "Hey, I'm going to need kitchen staff" or anything. And so I was all by my lonesome in the kitchen, tugging and pulling and doing everything needed to be done, and I was wiped out by the time I got home.
That's such a great picture. It's such
that is a great picture,
Sarah. That's a fun picture.
Yeah. Now, when did you fly over to England to get that shot?
Yeah, I flew over to England and
I don't want to bring up Photoshop again.
Yeah.
It was all hush, wasn't it, Scotty? We kept it all hush.
Yeah, we kept it very hush hush. It was a quick weekend, and
it was a quickie.
Champagne, cars, and photographers.
Yeah.
I will say this though: it is a fake picture because the car wasn't really moving.
Actually, the photograph, the original photograph, was taken by my friend Tyrion, the photographer, and he took that back in March on a place called Epsom Downs, where they have the Derby. It was freezing cold. Everybody was watching us going, what are you doing having all these photographs taken? And it wasn't just me, it was other people having the photos with the car, and it was freezing. And I'm so thrilled that Scotty picked it to put this funny little picture together, because it's brilliant.
A great shot.
Yeah, I think so.
Yes. And so, it was fun. That is a photoshopped picture.
Yeah, that's right.
So,
are you going to continue your conversation from last Tuesday this Tuesday?
We might.
Last night all the way home, I was wanting to type comments. I was so wanting to type comments and so wanting to call in. Let me call. I can't call in. Damn it.
Well, you never know. Robertson may actually go to, who knows? We might go to two nights. You never know. But
we might go to 2 nights.
It's certainly fun, and sometimes we just, oh, there he is.
Oh, look what happened.
Scotty, we're next door to each other.
We're next door to each other now.
Flirt
How'd
fest.
that happen? Dave, you look so Santa Claus-ish with the
I know,
red shirt.
I'm wearing the
and
red
tonight.
today, and I ran into Walmart to grab some cereal for my dad on the way home from the hospital, and I'm coming up the aisle, and there's this mom and two little girls, and the one little girl's hanging on the side of the shopping cart. The littlest one is in the child seat, and they're sort of making eyes with each other, and they're talking, and the girl that was holding onto the shopping cart stops, and her eyes get huge. And she grabs her sister's arm and she's tugging on. She goes, turn around, turn around, turn around, turn around. And I walk past, and she goes, no, now turn the other way. Now turn.
Dad.
Nice.
As I'm walking by, she's like, that was Santa Claus. So
nice.
Well, Dave, if you're coming down my chimney on Christmas Eve, I think I might know about it.
he lost his breath on that one.
Well, it's true. I think if Dave was coming down my chimney, I think I'd know all about it.
Yeah, Sean Struck, that is a 67.
It is a 67 Impala for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I just happened to literally I'm really tired tonight, so I'm hitting the hay early, and I just happened to log on Facebook for a bit, and I saw the competition and conversation. Sorry, until my brain's fried. Conversation. I was like, I have to come in and support my husband here, and
yes,
what are they picking on you?
Thank you.
Always pick on.
Thank
Scotty.
you, wife.
I always pick on. Scotty.
Well, I come in handy.
It's my job. My job.
Yes.
Have you had a good evening?
Me or Dave?
Both.
Oh, yeah, it was all right.
Yeah.
Little girl birthday party for
nobody else fell, nobody else broke a leg, and that was good. Yeah.
My son Sam was here with his girlfriend, and
that was nice.
We did a little roast turkey tonight. I roasted a turkey all afternoon, and
Flynn went on a dance.
Did mashed potatoes. I mean, the real thing. I stood at the sink for a half an hour and peeled potatoes.
It's the only kind, really.
I like mashed potatoes. Okay, let me ask you guys. When you mash potatoes, do you like them with or without the peeling?
I do a 50-50 because I like some peel in the mash, and I also add chives and garlic and butter.
Yes, chives, garlic, butter. Do you like peeling on or off, Wendy?
It's an Irish thing. Sorry.
I have to say that I prefer it off, darling, and I prefer mine to be sort of mixed together with a bit of butter and milk and pepper.
Yeah. Well,
I'll use a little milk and pepper with mine as well.
Them because my family are all, ew, there's a peeling in this. So I peeled them all, and then used butter and milk and half a pound of cream cheese. Well, no, I have a block of cream cheese.
Oh, my, that's really rich.
Put that in. Makes it a little richer, but man, it was good.
I was checking your picture out earlier on, Scotty, the one that you photoshopped, the old one to the new one.
Oh, yeah.
I was thinking, you've got a new toy you're playing with, haven't you?
Yeah, isn't that program? Doesn't that app? It does some amazing stuff.
And it's been interesting seeing your memories today of when your children were born and you were sort of like in the labor ward, and like you've changed. I mean, I haven't saying change as in worse, but it's like
I've aged.
Well, having children will do that for you.
That's true.
Not like a fine wine, though. More like a fine cheese. You've gotten a little funkier around the edges, but you're still good.
It's still good, but you just got to cut off the edges a little bit.
Oh, as we say in England, I would.
Say what? What was the word?
Going back to your stuffing recipe.
I missed the word.
As we say in England, I would.
I would. Oh, she'd cut the edges off my cheese. Would you cut the edges off my cheese? Why, yes, I would.
It's a Friday night. Listen, you've got to be cheeky on a Friday night.
That's right.
Always cheeky on a Friday night.
Friday is cheek day.
Yeah.
So going back to your stuffing recipe.
We have to have our flirt on, obviously. Get those viewing figures up.
Yes.
I'm 100% with you all the way up to the apple. I don't do the apple, but I do add cranberries and pecans.
Yeah. See, now I could have done that. My kids are not nut fans, so I don't put nuts in anything.
Yeah, there's something wrong with them then.
Yeah.
We should
like
probably properly
pecans.
beat those children.
Pecans or pecans?
Yeah, we call them pecans. Yeah,
pecans.
Yeah, pecans.
There you go. Now you got 3 pronunciations.
Yeah.
Is it pronounced? Here's a question.
Yes, but mine obviously is the original because I'm the motherland. So.
Pecans, they're pecans, people. Obviously pecans.
Fine looking cup you're drinking out of there, young Dave.
How do you say walnuts?
Walnut.
Walnuts.
Walnut.
Whale nuts.
Walnut. But then you've got we have Worcestershire sauce. Worcestershire.
Worcester sauce.
Worcestershire.
Worcestershire.
A lot of people say Worcestershire, but it's we pronounce it Worcestershire. Like when you go to Leicester, not Leicester, Leicester. And
Leicester, yes.
It's not Leicester.
Yeah, Gloucestershire.
But see now, with the English Civil War, we were told by the Brits that came over, it's pronounced the Battle of Worcester.
Worcester.
Not Worcestershire.
Now that's
but Worcestershire is the source, but there is.
Yeah, but Worcestershire is the place as well.
But the place is pronounced Worcester,
Worcester,
while the sauce is pronounced Worcestershire.
Yeah.
Something like that.
We like to keep your minds active.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, look what we've made those damn colonials do.
We're British. It's our language. We can change it as we like.
I often check this program out, and I often don't pop on here when I hear lots of talk about the British and how we did this and how we did that, and I'm like, no, Wendy, it's all right. Let them have their say. Let them have their say.
Let them have their say.
Let the colonials.
let those colonials
have their say and just like reel it in, woman, reel it in until you get hold of Scotty again.
English learn to speak.
The other night.
How do the English learn to speak? So
French are taught the French, the Latin. In America, they haven't spoken in years. But
but you know what? Yes. We love you Americans. We really do. We love the whole special relationship.
Lucky us.
We think you're great. You know, we're always popping over there and to your country and spending our money. And, you know, American men are pretty fit, you know, let's be honest, compared to some of the British.
Did you say we're pretty fit?
Pretty fit.
Take another look at Dave and me. We are not specimens of fitness.
Well, depends on who's looking in, doesn't it?
But you know,
you
get me in the right light, I look really fit. Like,
his forearms look really buff when he holds them over his head in the right lighting.
Apparently so. Like there's a shade on them or something.
And if you've ever seen him tear his shirt open right after open heart surgery, he's
got S on his chest, hasn't he?
That's right. Here, look. Just for everybody who hasn't seen, I usually charge a nickel for this. But there it is. And I've got these permanent marks all over me. That scar goes right up there. And I got that blotch right there. And
I pulled my shirt down and show you my chest hair, but it pretty much looks just like my beard. You can't really tell that I've done anything.
You will forgive me for not actually pulling my shirt down and showing you anymore.
Do you have any scars, Wendy?
I used to do as Captain Morgan. I used to do this thing. She was an Italian wench, don't you know? And then I pull my shirt open and press my pecs together, and it's just a big hairy cleavage. Everyone go,
nice.
We'll just have to do it for the calendar that we talk about, because I'm sure we'll come up with a suitable picture for it.
Oh, for the calendar?
We can certainly think of something for the calendar.
Mm-hmm.
I've got my picture all planned already.
He's already got it sorted, Dave. He's got
I'm gonna be Captain Morgan with my jacket on and nothing else, holding a pair of coconuts.
Oh, I like that.
I like
strategically.
That I like that. I wanted you to do.
I'm a man that knows his nuts.
But I wanted you to do the Christmas one where you had your little hat on and you did Scrooge for December.
Yeah,
I could do something like that too.
Yeah. You're right there, Scotty.
Over my throat. All of a sudden, I didn't bring any water down with me.
Damn it!
You must have some scotch or something you can swig down.
I got bourbon. I've got some bourbon behind me.
Well, take a sip of bourbon and clear your throat, gentlemen.
Take a
You've
sip of
always
that
got a nip of
bourbon.
something, and you, Scotty, you've always got a nip of something.
I've always got what?
You've always got a nip of something.
Oh yeah. There's always a nip of something around here.
Uncle Dave, what are you up to this weekend?
Well, I am behind on getting some paintings done that I have to have done for the holidays, so I'm going to try and get those done. But I have to spend time up at the hospital as well, so
yeah,
not sure how I'm going to get all that done. But I'm thinking before I go to bed tonight, I may do a layer of paint on this portrait, because then it's got to sit for several days before I can do anything else. So,
Roger, I do have a mini fridge, but it's up in the how do you say over there? The
veranda?
The garage.
The garage. Garage.
The garage.
In the garage, not the garage.
Not the garage.
The garage.
Yeah, I'm rubbing off.
Garage.
I'm rubbing off on you. You're starting to pick up the lingo.
I've always had garage. That's fine.
So
the garage is where you park your carriage.
See, and John Ward always said it was the garage.
Garage, garage.
So that's the Welsh border thing in him, I think.
He calls a half timber a black and white.
Hereford.
That just really bothers me.
The what does?
He calls a half timber house a black and white instead of just a half timber.
Yeah, he called it a black and white.
You were talking about Robertson when I come on, and thank you for the lovely compliment, Dave. That was really nice.
An amazing show. Simply amazing show. I love it. I can't believe we're already at episode 5.
I know.
5 weeks in. We're 5 weeks in.
How can that be? How has 5 weeks gone by since we said, "Hey, you guys should do a show together"? Hey, that sounds like a great idea. Let's do that.
Let's do that. We've only been talking about it for years.
We do have great fun doing it. Like we both look forward to doing it, and I think we just tend to like the banter's very good, and Scotty's very easy to work with. He makes things very smooth and everything go. He's a pro, darling. He literally just makes everything go easy. So it's like. It's really easy, really. But I think that also because we've known each other for so long, and there's nothing that we haven't really talked about, or
very true.
It just makes it, it makes it very interesting. But I think what I find frustrating is sometimes in the live, I actually prefer it when we actually did the recorded version of it, because it tends to flow quicker. It tends to flow more. Whereas in the live, as much as it's great to actually chat to other people, you really get involved in the subject and you're talking about it, and then there's something comes up and it just takes you off it. So I think sometimes it's good to have that both, especially when you're talking about, and also because of the time sometimes as well. Sometimes if the children come home early and you're aware of them in the background, I think sometimes having the pre-recorded one is a little bit easier at times. But we said we're going to go live for a while and see how we get on with that, and go. I
like live only because everybody knows you're right there.
You
do a pre-recorded show. It could have been recorded 6 weeks ago for all they know. And I used to record my show, the Intrepid radio program. I used to record it every day in the morning and play it in the afternoon or in the evening. And then I started going live, and it's like, let's just do this live. People see you in the here and the now. They hear if you make a mistake, you make a mistake. When I pre-recorded, I never left my mic ported down. That never happened. Because you record and then you throw in the bumps.
When you're watching the pre-recorded show, just like last night when I was watching the Tuesday show, even though it was live at the time for you, it was pre-recorded for me. And I get frustrated because it's like, I want to comment on that. No, I can't comment on that because they're not there now.
I know. We tend to like do the show and then leave. But it is fun. I really enjoy working with Scotty. It's an absolute pleasure, and it's nice that we're finally getting to. And the fact that we're doing more sort of, Mark, when I do Strangely Us, it's a very different situation, because Mark prefers to have Strangely Us on a very different dynamic. That doesn't mean to say that he and I can't do it, but I think ours is only half hour. There's no live in, we've done one live so far. But with Scotty, I tend to get my teeth into more other subjects where Strangely Us, which is good, and people should watch Strangely Us on. They're going to mark MARQ, Mark English channel. They will find Strangely Us, and it's really good fun. In fact,
it's also a good show.
Everybody's been saying to us,
Maybe it's because you're on both shows.
Oh, thank you. They keep saying, where's the next podcast? And it's because Mark is working with the Christmas season and he's in theatre. It's constantly busy. Yeah. Then on top of that, he's been taking care of his mum, and then I've been here. So we actually haven't had a chance to do any more shows. And everyone said, well, I thought this was going to be weekly, but because life comes along sometimes and you can't always do it. So that's
another thing I like about doing live shows is it keeps you on your toes. If you make a mistake, everybody sees you make a mistake. I already kind of mentioned that. But
you're human?
Yeah. And it lets people see what you're doing, how you're thinking. And sometimes you got to think quick on your feet when you're doing live, because it's like, well, I'm doing live and I just screwed the pooch on that one, so now I got to come up with something new. And when you're recording, you just edit it out.
He just leaves me sometimes, and he'd be like, you talk, and I'm like, okay.
Yeah. It's like, go ahead, Wendy, talk to them for a second while I get this book.
Let's look at the comments and read that, because it's like, although I've been doing Strangely since July, August, but it's
you seem very relaxed in front of the camera. Of us.
Mark is a professional, and it's like microphone here, we're on and we're off. Where Scotty's more like, just let it run,
Yeah, we can do that. We can go into the
You seem very relaxed in front of the camera, and the camera loves you.
Thank you. Very nice compliment. Thanks very much.
So
it's very true.
It's when you're, I noticed the first one that we did, the first Roberts that we did,
which was pre-recorded.
I think I felt more into my subject because there was no
you're not worrying about what people are asking you in the chat room,
and it just
there's no distractions.
And I think that's something I'm used to, is like, we're talking about something come up, and no one actually calls into the show, really. No one calls in. They just tend to comment, which is lovely. It's really lovely for all the support. But I think that for me, I just think if you're into a really...
Might I make a suggestion?
You might.
Okay. So pre-record your show, play that, both of you in the chat room during the hour so you can respond to chat that's happening, and then immediately follow with a live broadcast of your after show. And that way you can take questions on the thing and so on and so forth. And you get the
we did that with the first show, didn't we? Did we do
we did it with live? We pre-recorded the first show, but we didn't go live afterwards.
We didn't go live afterwards. No. Okay.
But that would give you the best of both worlds. Wendy would feel comfortable during the show, and you could just go through the content without being distracted by anything. And then afterwards, you can spend that entire time, that entire hour, while people are listening and commenting, you can be in the chat room chatting back with them about stuff. Okay. And you don't have to worry, because you've already said what you're saying. You can chat while you are talking at the same time.
Whenever I pre-recorded, the days when I pre-recorded, I always sat in the chat room while the pre-record played. The reason I pre-recorded was I wanted to do my bumps, and I had ad blocks and stuff like that.
Right.
And
but then you could go live right afterwards with your after show.
Yeah, I didn't do that, but I sat live in the chat room, so I could answer. People said, we were wondering, how are you typing that? We're watching you talk. I said, it's magic. It's a little bit of magic.
I know it's Ghost Day on Ghost Story on your show, and actually just before I actually hit the sack here, I just rang because I've been interested in some of the ghosts. in Calgary, and there's just one particular story that it's quite chilling actually. But I actually didn't know much about the paranormal side over here, and I'm just starting to learn about it. But this is about there's a particular paranormal event about the old St. George's Bridge, which links Inglewood to St. Patrick's Island in Calgary, and also joins the Calgary Zoo. There used to be a playground apparently near where the zoo's security building is now, and in 1946, Donnie Goss was playing in the park when a man lured him away with an offer of toys. The 6-year-old was murdered under the bridge, and emergency services
kill a 6-year-old. I don't get that.
Are reportedly still called to the site 2 or 3 times a year with people saying they've heard a child crying for help.
Oh boy.
29th, 2017, the historic bridge was removed from where it had sat for nearly 110 years and replaced. However, visitors to the area still get the chills and hear the cries.
I have heard too that replicas or reproductions, reconstructions of places can draw spirits that were associated with it. Yep. When I was working on that project to build the Globe Theater, here a replica of that, I had asked somebody that very question. I said, if we build Shakespeare's Globe Theater, do you think, and he interrupted me because he knew right where I was going. He says, absolutely. He says, spirits can be drawn to places that remind them of where they were in life.
Is the Globe in London haunted?
I don't know. See, I haven't heard anything about that. I'd like to look that up and find out now that we're talking about it. But he said, yeah, it's very well. If you built the Globe Theater, you could very well attract spirits to that place because of what it is. And
well, look at Civil War battlefields.
Intercontinental travel.
When you look at the Civil War battlefields, on weekends when they're doing reenactments, all kinds of stuff breaks loose because I think the spirits are attracted to the sound of the cannon and all that stuff. That reliving of those events brings those spirits back, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously England's well known for its ghostly things because obviously, let's be honest, it's a very old energy, and the history goes back so far. So when I came here, obviously there's lots of native history in that, but didn't really know much about the town. So when I started to research, that story was one that came out and really sort of hit home. And there's another great place called the Dean House, Dean, and it's actually quite a well-known one in Calgary. But originally, the building was built for a superintendent of Fort Calgary. At some point in the 30s, it became a rooming house, which is where a horrific murder-suicide occurred between a married couple. And ever since then, reports of a man smoking a pipe and the apparition of an Indigenous man have been seen. Other occurrences include disconnected telephone that still rings, an unexplained smell of cigars, and a blood stain in the attic that changes color and size. There's also a closet near the blood stain that won't stay locked, and any objects placed inside are later found scattered about with no logical explanation. And so these are just some of the stories I've been reading up on, and I was going to talk about it with the ghosty side of things, but it's interesting, isn't it? Because one of my favorite places that I've ever been to is Ham House in and it's I worked there for a time, and everybody knows how active it is, and there has been so much seen. And actually, as I always say, the fireplace in Ham House, when they made the House on Haunted Hill, the second one with Catherine Zeta-Jones in it, they actually used
Liam Neeson. Yeah, that one.
They used Ham House and the Muse for that film, and it's very daunting when you go in there. And when you feel, I can't describe it, you feel like you're being watched, and a lot of security guards don't last very long because, you know, they're going in late at night, first thing in the morning.
Sure.
But even when you look at Ham House, it looks daunting.
Again, a place I need to visit. Also, I was going to ask you, have you been to the Globe Theater?
Do you know, it's one place I've never been.
I was going to say, that's right in your backyard, so I just wondered if you'd been there.
Yeah,
so,
no.
Wow.
Shame on
shame on you.
And Mark has never taken you to the Globe?
Do you know, I'm not sure Mark is really into that because
he's into theater, but not the Globe.
He works.
You should take Mark to the Globe.
He works at Wimbledon Theatre. Wimbledon Theatre, very old theatre, and it is quite active, I think. And Mark has done ghost tours there as well. But Mark actually wrote a book on ghost tales of Surrey, because, you know, like where you guys have province, we have. He did in the county of Surrey. He did this book. It was really good. And in the little Strangely Us video where we weren't on for a while, I did like an intake reading his book, which he was most impressed by. But he writes down a lot of the ghost stuff. He's very knowledgeable, as Mark. Very knowledgeable. And when we go somewhere,
I love his show.
He's very good.
I found his book on Amazon.
Did you?
It's called Paranormal Surrey.
That's it.
And these Amazon links are so damn long. But here, I'll paste it over here in the chat room.
It's well worth a read. It's really interesting.
There you go, folks. If you copy that very long link, or I don't think you can click on it, but if you copy it, it says here, it's called Paranormal Surrey. True Ghost Stories, and the introduction on Amazon reads like this: Surrey, now this is where Wendy lives as well. Surrey is a county of contrasting styles with a diverse mixture of rural villages, vast open land, commuter towns such as Guildford and Working, and to the north, the modern sprawl of suburbs, which forms part of the Greater London. Surrey's rich tapestry of history and heritage is also complemented by its fascinating stories of ghosts and the paranormal. And here I just have to do this. This book will take you on a journey through Surrey's paranormal landscape, as well as taking you to some of the more prominent locations. Can't go on with that. The guide will also visit places that are off the beaten track. These stories and tales are a varied mix of local folklore, eyewitness reports, and personal accounts investigated by paranormal researcher and filmmaker Mark English, who is the young girl seen many times in the early hours on the A22 approach to Caterham. What dark figures haunt the Great Hall of Carew Manor? Does a phantom...
Carew Manor.
Carew.
That's it. Which little tidbit there with Carew Manor. So Carew Manor is in Beddington. Now, as I said, everything with T-O-N is an old Roman name, and so Beddington and Carew Manor was and still is an amazing building. It's very historic and little. I'm just reading some of it here. It was 14th century. It's been there. St. Nicholas Carew was one of young Henry VIII's favourites, and he was a member of the Privy Chamber. And then the Manor of Beddington continued in the Carew family until Sir Nicholas Carew was executed for treason in March 59. His lands were seized and returned to the crown, but his son then later got it back. But the interesting thing is, one of the last Carews was on the Mary Rose that went down in Portsmouth, and you can visit now. You can actually go, and also there's another little rumor about it, is that Jane Seymour, the Henry's third wife, she took up temporary residence in Beddington Park, which is part of where the manor is, and Henry used to visit her discreetly And legend also has it that Elizabeth I and Sir Walter Raleigh used to take walks in the park. And some even say, and I've done this in a little video, some even say that Raleigh's embalmed head is buried in the grounds. We're full of stuff like that in England. Let's be.
We'll chop off his head, but bury it over there.
Bury it over there.
Around somewhere. Visit it.
And I like stories like that. The thing I like about when I was in England and any place here in the United States where you have history, Egypt, the same thing. I like walking in places where beyond a shadow of a doubt, some historical figure that you've read about or studied, researched, has walked this same path. They've walked this hallway in this castle or this mansion or this manor house.
Henry VIII took a crap right here.
He took a crap right here by that tree when he was but 8 years old. His parents didn't know it, or he'd had his hide tanned, but that's the spot where he did it. And a tree grew in its place. And that tree right there in this park is the tree that Henry VIII's shite grew. It's right there.
On the East Coast, we do that with George Washington. And all over the East Coast, there are bed and breakfasts and things like that. And say, George Washington slept here. That man got around. He slept in a lot of people's beds. That's all I have to say.
You dress up as Henry VIII, Dave, and I'll dress up as one of the wives. I'm not sure.
Go. And let's go hang out at Hampton Court.
I think it would have to be Anne Boleyn because she's my favorite. So I think it would.
Well, she's my favorite too.
Yeah.
And we could have our first date at Hampton Court.
We could, and just
as Henry and Anne.
Just promise you won't take my head.
No. And no, my heart loves you forever. I wouldn't take another. Who was I thinking? I'd love to be. And you see, I'm too old to play anybody anymore. That's the thing. All through the years, there were characters that would have loved to have played in theater.
Oh, you could play Cromwell.
I could play Cromwell. No, I don't have the warts on my nose.
I could do a lot of prosthetics. You could play Wolsey.
I could play Wolsey. Who?
Thomas More.
I could play Thomas More.
You take a look at a picture of Wolsey. You take a look at your nose. You've got Wolsey's nose.
Oh, Wolsey? I don't know. I have to take a look at him again.
Cardinal Wolsey.
Cardinal Wolsey.
It's weird. He remembers Henry VIII, all the wives, but some of the ministers that he worked with, like Thomas More. Thomas More is really.
Thomas More was a brilliant man.
Yeah. There's schools named after him, and people talk about him as a saint. Like literally made. But actually, I actually find it interesting. What was his name? Cromwell, Thomas Cromwell, who was the second. He was like everything to Henry VIII.
Was he the father or the grandfather of Oliver Cromwell?
I'm not sure on that, but he was Henry's secretary and lawyer and everything like that. When they executed him,
he was a snake.
It took about 9 to 11 goes to take his head off.
Could you imagine that? I think that was
he
by
deserved
design.
everything he got, as far as I'm concerned.
The executioner was quite drunk, and the guy that paid.
Sorry, Harry, I got it.
Sorry about your rib cage. I was going for the head. Let's try again.
Whoops, a little bit low on that one. Oh, okay. We'll try. Oh, look, he looks like Friar Tuck now. Okay,
now hold still. Hold still.
After
there we go.
If on in, right? When do you?
We're going to take your head off with a meat slicer.
When do you lose the nerve and the movement? When do you? Obviously, even when you're dead, when your head's cut off, you're still technically, until the brain dies.
Yeah. Well, if the guy's laying there twitching, he's okay, or if he's gasping, or if he's,
there's no
aim. He's yelling out. I don't know. You make fun of it now. I would hate to be beheaded.
I'm sure it would have been gross and disgusting, but
yeah.
And when you look at a headsman's axe, it's not a very efficient axe.
But at least it's quicker than there was a story I was reading the other day, and I thought I must bring it in for one of the shows that we do. But you had a choice to be boiled alive. And
oh yeah, that's not a good way to go.
Was horrific. They would keep would bring you out, put you back in, bring you out, put you back in until you eventually died of whatever.
Heat.
Being cooked.
Right?
Being cooked.
Imagine the pain and the smell and the people.
Well, think of the big giant brass boar or bull that they used to stuff people in and light on fire.
Oh yeah. So yeah, none of the ways in Tudor England seemed very pleasant ways to die if you were on the wrong side of the king.
Well, he actually brought in a bill that said, especially for Lady Rochford, who was Catherine Howard's lady, she was insane. Well, I mean, I think anyone waiting to get killed would go insane, but she was called an imbecile, and in the end he brought in a bill just before they did her, literally days before, and said you could actually execute imbeciles, so she could be beheaded. I mean,
I've got a new bill,
yeah,
so we can execute this woman waiting out in the foyer.
No Christmas or Good Friday, and yet you're still up there, right?
I like the way he got rid of Anna Cleese. You will get this pension and you will live in that castle for the next 80 years until you die. Oh, all right, then. I'll go live over here. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Wife, she was really wise because she became his sister. She had money, and she kept her head.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Can I have Holbein, please? Oh yeah, she could have Holbein.
Meet with him. I mean, come on, that's a bonus. That's a win-win.
Yes.
I
just couldn't imagine being in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Can you imagine lying next to Henry VIII and he's riddled with syphilis and everything else, and you're like,
I bet it wasn't as bad as people think.
But
he's much maligned.
They said
he's much maligned.
Three rooms away. You could smell his leg 3 rooms away.
So I read.
There's just no way. You'd be lying there thinking, oh my God, I don't want to do this.
Yeah.
Family's going to get rich afterwards.
Yeah. Whew. What was it with Mary Tudor, though? Bloody Mary. Wasn't it the thing that Philip of Spain wouldn't go near her after a while? She never bathed, and could you imagine the stench of anybody's genitals and things like if they never bathed and they never took care of themselves?
You often see them carrying the little, like,
what
are they called? I can't remember. Yeah, and they used to sniff, like, because the smell was
lavender.
But it's the teeth as well.
Clove and orange, and
the teeth would be the worst because and also shaving. I mean, back then, I would imagine women didn't really shave that often, and
I could imagine not. You know, it wasn't a fashion statement back.
There was no.
Like I said, Italian women, nice and furry.
Nice and furry. Yeah. There it is.
Nothing like an Italian woman on a cold night.
The Poles are a lot like that.
I was in Italy once on a train in a very hot summer, and going to Vatican City from Rome, and literally this lady got on. I shouldn't say this, but bless her, she got on and she held on to the things, you know, that you hold on to on a
straps.
Train. Oh my God, she had her armpit just beside me, and there was
my goodness,
there was a forest going there, and I was just like,
patchouli, darling.
That's exactly what it was like.
Let me get some hedge trimmers and some patchouli for you, darling.
It's like,
you know, I've got something for you, ma'am. It's called a razor, and
not sexy. It's animal. It's not good.
It's animal. It's animal.
Especially when it's very dark, very not.
The hair itself, you mean?
Yeah.
Very dark and coarse. Very coarse, dark hair.
You're kind of like this, you know. You don't even know where to look. You're kind of like, morning.
I think Sarah, by the way, is
mother a gorilla.
I think Sarah's on a roll over there tonight. She's throwing out the quips left and right.
What is she writing? I can't see.
With all the lack of shaving, I'm sure there are more Sasquatch sightings, she said. Sarah, are you doing a little nipsey? No.
And what's really is the different words that
I don't think Sarah drinks.
No, I don't think she does either.
I'm not going to mention the word, but I think if you look it up, you can. It's a favorite swear word. The actual, name for a lady parts was something completely different to what we now. It was a 4-letter word beginning with C, and that's what they would call it. And now it's a swear word, but back in medieval, it wasn't.
When I was first heard Glasgowians talking casual, having a beer with somebody in Glasgow, and he says, "Oh yeah, that Tommy boy, he's a das cunt, yes." And you'd say, "Is that it? What?" He goes, "Oh, it's a compliment." Like, oh, okay. And pronounced COONT was the pronunciation.
Yes. Well, as we like to call it in England, see you next Tuesday.
See you next Tuesday. And there it is.
But that was a very common word they used in medieval times. And you just think, wow, when did it become like a swear word? Like when did it become like a word?
I think as soon as somebody, Michelle Cannon-Free's having some deja vu right now. Have you heard this story before, Michelle? I think it probably became something like my kids now, my young kids, they're calling each other weenuses. Flynn, you're such a weenus. So said Rowan to Flynn. I said, what's a weenus? That's like a combination of wiener and penis.
I think it's a variation of a wussy.
Yeah, wussy. There's that. I think it probably something. I think all sexual parts of the body end up being slang terms probably very quickly. And whatever they called it back in, if you use the proper name, the vagina, I could say, Dave, you're such a vag. It's all the way you use it. It's a body part, said Michelle Cannon.
You're a VJ.
Oh, the elbow. Yeah, that's the weenus is the elbow. Skin on the end of your elbow. But who figured? Who names these things?
I know, but where did that word come from? Like, when did there someone in medieval terms or whenever decided to call it that? Like, I think we need to call it this. I mean, where does it come from? I'm always fascinated by.
Well, I know cunny, C-U-N-N-Y, was a variation of that.
Mm-hmm.
And when did pussy become synonymous with vagina?
Mm-hmm.
Who
suddenly thought that up and said, "No, darling, that's not your vagina. That's your pussy."
That's your pussy.
I'm not sure on that one, right?
The first, I remember getting a good laugh out of the movie Elizabeth with Kate Blanchett, the French ambassador. And, he comes over and he is talking like this, when he speaks his English, and he says something to her in French about, she catches him in an orgy and she's kind of laughing. She's like, "Oh, sir, I see you're preoccupied. I guess we'll make another time for this."
Well, in an orgy, in a dress. He
said, yeah, she's in a dress. Oh, he's in a dress too. And he said something about, I don't know the French words he used, but he said, "Oh, well, le chat, le chat, the cat, the pussy, and then he's, so it was very interesting."
And because we use the word fanny, that
fanny,
A for for another word for
it. Where did fanny come from?
And I could tell you, I have no idea. And another word, I can't believe I'm actually talking about this on a Friday night at 10 o'clock, right? But another word that's really common when I was growing up was the word minge.
Minge, yes.
Minge.
It was minge, and it was just like, what?
John Ward used to use that word a lot.
Yeah.
He'd say, "And so this fellow came up to me and he's minging all over the place. And I tell him to shut up, you stupid cow."
Yes.
He said, he called, I hope I'm not revealing secrets. I don't think they're watching. But there was one time John and Maria love each other immensely and they have a great life together. One time he's talking to her and he called her a stupid cow. "You stupid cow," he said to her. And I said, is that permitted? I said, John, is she going to punch you in the face? And he said, and, but they loved each other. There's nothing very telling in that other than, when you're around in private with people that you know very well, and they got into a little spiff about something, and she was very professional. She's just like, well, John, you can just do whatever you like. Then I'm going over here. And she goes over there and he goes, oh, you stupid cow. Like, oh, you got to be kidding me.
Yeah. And
so
when you hear an English person swear, depending on where they come from, it has completely takes on a whole life of its own. Like if you go to Belfast or Glasgow, if you go
Glasgow,
at the east end of London, and if you go into South London, and you'll hear it take on a completely different. But I live near a pub. Actually, I live near 2 or 3 pubs, and on a Friday, Saturday night, you often hear some very choice words.
I'm sure. I'm sure.
And see you next Tuesday word is really, probably the famous word. And you're sitting there and you're like, here we go. And you're lying there and you're like thinking, do you not have a home to go to? Do you really have to have it? But I think it's an Englishman's favorite word apart, that and fuck. I think that, those 2 words, and you hear it all the time in road rage. Like, because I live a main road, and you'll see them stop and get road rage, and they get out of the car and they're swearing at each other, and you're like, oh yes, it's already
there it is. And 300 years ago, they'd have pulled knives or swords. Or Michelle Cannon-Free says some masculine terms are derogatory too. I'm sure. Cocksucker.
Mm-hmm.
That is a derogatory term.
Yeah.
Then again, that's not really. That could be male or female.
Yeah.
But there are the genitalia. Which I always thought was a Spanish girl's name when I was growing up. So I always heard the Mexicans down the street, and they were talking about genitalia. So
nobody cusses the way the pythons used to, though. You snotty-faced pile of parrot dropping.
Yes.
I burst my pimples in your general direction.
Yes. You small-brained wiper of other people's bottoms. I shall taunt you again a second time.
I always thought Planes, Trains and Automobiles, and it's one of my favorite movies, and Steve Martin and the wonderful John Candy.
Yes.
But that scene where he said 17 fucks in that is absolutely a classic.
It's classic.
Because he's so into it, and you.
How can we get an R rating on a Christmas film? Oh, I know. Here's what I'll do.
Say fuck 17 times in the course of 2 minutes.
And she was just so annoying, that woman.
Yeah.
Actually, she reminded me of my ex-mother-in-law.
Oh.
Same voice, same color hair. I mean,
nice.
But that's an amazing how they fitted all those fuck words in, because it was so funny.
See you, Sean. He's saying goodnight over there in the chat room.
Bye, Sean.
Well, Michelle Cannon-Free, why don't you call in and give us a couple of other examples? She said that was one example.
Reading it.
So, I'm at a loss for any more, I guess.
Well, I mean, I could tell you a lot, but I couldn't possibly.
I'm sure you could.
It would be X-rated.
Wouldn't be proper on the radio.
It would be proper to say that, but
yes.
There's quite a few. And I had a friend of mine come over from Canada. She was a young Canadian girl, and I said, look, I'm going to have to sit down and tell you some words just so you know exactly what you're hearing. So after I told her, she sat there with literally stunned, going, really? Oh my God. And so and then after about 2 years of being around me, she was like almost a native in saying the words, because it does rub off on you for sure. But we Brits swear a lot.
Sarah mentioned Cyrano de Bergerac and the swearing of Cyrano de Bergerac. And he insults his own nose. He swears. I remember we did a version of that play when I was in college, and it was the head of the theater department that took on the role of Cyrano, and he was damn good at it. But there was the little pompous git, and I do not know after 40 years why this is still in my mind. But he was delivering his poetry in the bar, in the tavern, and Cyrano is mocking him mercilessly afterwards. But the poem went like this. He said, and the guy I saw doing the play, he went like this. He goes, "Thrice happy he who hides from pomp and power in sylvan shade or solitary bower, where balmy zephyrs fan his burning cheeks." And that was the little poem he delivered. And then Cyrano, of course, tears him apart for it in a very eloquent way. So,
you've missed calling, Scotty. You truly have.
I should have been a gay actor.
No, actor, but I mean, I've never.
Cyrano's one of my favorites.
The Roxanne, obviously with Steve Martin, I've seen, but the one
very nicely done remake
is Gerard.
I liked that.
Gerard Depardieu, the French actor. He did an amazing film before he got bigger, which was called Green Card. Do you remember that, Green Card?
Yes, I remember Green Card.
Yes.
That's just when he started.
Little romantic comedy.
He just started out. He wasn't very much a big star in Hollywood, and that was one of the first that he did, and he was really good in that. And then, so I've not seen that. And then he did another one about a famous cartoon. What was it? Viking. I can't remember the name of it.
Something like that. Gru, the Viking. Something like that.
Him now. I don't know where he is.
I might be wrong about that.
But anyway, gentlemen, I'm going to love you and leave you because I have to go. But it's been fun.
Isn't that the way?
Be sandwiched between you for a short time.
There it is. There it is.
That's the way I like it.
Is it, darling? Is it really?
It is.
He's hairier and more cuddly than I am.
I am the rose between two thorns.
There it is.
Right.
Took the words out of me mouth.
I love the way Dave does his accent, so it's so cool because you are so. Oh, it's just like you're in one of my natives, darling.
There it is.
Yeah, what can I say?
Yeah,
make my heart go pitter patter.
You got to do your pirate one for me before I go.
Right, what do you want me to say, Beat?
Anything.
I can say anything you want.
I love it. Say parlay.
Parlay.
Yeah, love it.
That's a Frenchy word for we's gonna talk.
Love it.
Yeah.
Well, gentlemen, have a wonderful evening. Mwah.
And you too, Wendy.
And I
see you later.
If I don't see you before, I will see you on Tuesday.
We'll have to talk at least the day before.
Yeah, we will. And by the way, your arms look fabulous, so don't worry about it.
Why, thank you.
You have my official endorsement of that matter.
There it is. That's just for you, Wendy. Right there.
Okay, thank you.
Can't see my arm.
I won't be able to sleep now.
I know. Try to sleep now. I'm sorry I did that to you right before you go to bed, but
all right, darlings. See you
later. Love you, Wendy.
Love you too.
Love you, darling.
Bye-bye. All right. Well.
Oh, she makes me laugh.
That conversation could have gone worse. I mean, between you and I, she lightened up the conversation a bit. That was nice. So, well, folks, guess what time it is? It's 11:12.
Good golly, the time has flown by.
Where has it gone? So,
I don't know what you're getting right now, but we are getting one heck of a snowstorm. And I drove home in a snowstorm. So,
we had about 40 degrees here today, and now
so did we. It was beautiful all day, and I came out of the hospital, and it was damn near white out on the highway coming home. So
it started sleeting, and the high tomorrow is gonna be something like 8 degrees.
Yeah, so you're gonna get probably hit with what we're getting tonight, and I see no sign of it stopping. I think we'll have several inches by morning.
Coming down when Sam left. So around 8 o'clock. So 7:30.
Nice that I got to chat with him briefly today.
Yes.
But Yeah. Love that.
It was nice. It's always good having Sam here. I like that. Abby and Bryn, those of you listening, my twin daughters will be up for Christmas.
Your twin daughters, Abby and Bryn?
Yeah, my twin daughters, Abby and Bryn. They're going to be up for Christmas. And they're going to stay here for a couple of days.
Are they going to drive?
I think they're flying.
God damn it.
They're going to fly and rent a car.
I want them to take this damn steamer chest home with them.
Yeah. I've got, look at this, sitting right here. They just happen to be right here.
I had this beautiful walnut chest that I got for Bryn for her wet, but
is it this one? Yeah, this is for Bryn. This is some of the paintings from Tam O'Hare, and I had them framed for the girls, and they still have to take these home. That's slipped. No, it hasn't.
We'll have to.
It's slipped.
We'll have to get it.
But that's professionally framed and it's slipped. That kind of irks
I know.
me a bit.
I know. But
I did that one for Bryn and I did this one for Abby. Let's see, which one did she get? Yeah, this one. It's the ones they really liked somebody had bought them. But that's Tam O'Hare and Seamus Duggery. And,
yes.
So that one's Abby's. And we've got one more framed here. What was this one? Oh, I gave this one to Rainy. Oh, the ship. The Maru.
And that's
the mermaid.
Shifted too.
It's the Maru in Gaelic.
Yep, and that's shifted too.
So well, I got to take them back and get them touched up then. So I paid like $150 a piece to have those framed.
Yes, that's ridiculous.
So I should not do that. So anyway, that's all we got.
All right.
Sharing isn't always caring.
Sarah, everyone else,
I agree.
Adios.
All right, Uncle Dave, see you later. All right, folks, that's it. We're done. We got to get out of here. I have some sleeping to do, and so do you. But you don't have to go to sleep. But we got to be done talking right now. So I'm going to get out of here. I appreciate your time. Thanks for being here. I was going to announce something, by the way. I'll do it another time. Just something that I wanted a little exciting thing I wanted to try, and I wanted to run it by you all. So we'll leave it at that. Folks, you have a good night. I will see you back here Sunday morning at 9 a.m. for It's Sunday with Scotty and Rainey. And Rainey's been coming in the last couple of weeks. Let's see if we can keep that record up and get her back in here on Sunday morning. And so we'll see you here. You have a good Saturday and a good weekend. Stay warm wherever you are. Have a good night. Live long and prosper.